Check one. All right, let's do it. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this 2 a.m. Eastern time stream. My phone over there, where it absolutely will charge, and I'll completely ignore it. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the stream. My name is Eric. I am a photographer, writer, editor, and filmmaker with 15 years experience going out into the world and creating stories. And this is AfterCut, which is a series about post-processing and processing post, as we talk about all the creative decisions that get made between first like raw footage to final cut or final selection. So that's the show. That's me. What we're going to do tonight is go back to Colorado. I'm going to go ahead and open up the stream. We'll get right in. There we go. Going to go back to Colorado, and we're going to continue looking at some of the smaller scenes that we selected last time. Most of these are going to be mountain related, just because that's kind of the vibe I'm in right now. So, yeah, let's get involved. Let's make a little art. As always, if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to add them. Yeah, I'm going to do this one in color. This one's too good. Comments or questions, thoughts as we go, please feel free to share. As much as I can make this that's too much. Until it's auto angle is, what's it going to do? Nothing. It thinks I'm pretty close to right. It's funny because I don't. I feel like this is a little bit off. That looks better. Almost. We're almost there. Couple of notches. That feels good. That feels very good. Okay, cool. So now, a little more of that. Bring that down. We can extend this over a little bit. Nope, hang on. Gotta bring this up a little bit. You know what? I'm pretty happy with that. Let's stick with that for now. Cool. So yeah, this one, I think we talked a lot about this one when I was doing, when I was selecting photos. I'm again, not quite there with this rotation. There we go. Real close. Almost. Let's keep going. Yeah, I talked about this photo a lot when I was selecting photos from this trip. Just that it had caught my attention for a couple of reasons. One, the spread of colors. Two, the difference in just seeing landscape going from the walls of the Black Canyon up through the, seeing the road up here up through, which is the North Rim Road. Actually, I don't think we've got any exclamation point photos on tonight's docket, but when we get to the exclamation point photos, this is the road you take out to get there, or to get to the ranger station. And then you have the mountain and everything in the background. Just felt like one of those moments where you capture the relationships between levels of the ecosystem. So the first thing we're going to do, of course, is we're going to get rid of that spot on my lens. Tricks of the trade here. Clean up the little bits so we don't have to worry about them, and we don't have that much of an issue. Okay, I think that's the only one that's really becoming a problem. We'll see if I end up adding stuff to the see if I end up adding anything to the sky that makes more pop out, because there's definitely more there. We've already done a little bit of editing on this, and so usually what happens is you do that, like that or texture, and you're going to pull out those things. I'm not really seeing it, so that's good. Okay, undo that. Though I do like, actually, I like having the texture up. I don't think I want it there, though. I think I want to do... Alright, I've already done some basic edits with this. Yes, I think the highlights coming down is a good idea. I think the shadows going up is a decent idea. I think bringing that up. We're going to be turning up the saturation, especially on the sky, in a little bit. Probably going to turn up the saturation on all of this to different levels. And so having the shadows up a little bit gives me a little room to... Because when you saturate something, it's going to get a little bit... Just a little bit darker. Depending how you do it. Yeah, like that. You're going to get a little bit darker. So brightening it up a little bit gives me room to bring it down with saturation. I've already turned the blacks down, which is cool. I think that... Yeah, just adds a little extra sharpness. I'll usually come back to that and do it near the end, but we'll see if that... We'll see if we do it again this time. Took me 2 seconds to check my phone. That'll teach me. By the way, tonight's tea is a smoky, like meant to replicate the like a wood-barreled bourbon sort of tea, and it's quite good. It's very refreshing. It's a very good end-of-day tea. That I've also been told goes very well if you mix, like, if you do like a 3-to-1 mixture of iced tea, like a cold of that tea, iced, and actual bourbon. Okay, let's do some masking. I got a couple things to do. Let's get the sky first. Good news with this photo is there's a couple options for how I might do it. Okay, cool. Give me the sky. I think in this case I'm gonna add an object. I'm gonna see if I can add this mountain. I think in this case I want them as the same mask. We will see if that remains true, but I believe I want them to be the same. I don't see a reason not to. So, working on that. There we go. Cool. So we got that. I just do a quick add brush and just make sure we're getting... Okay, yeah. We've got all that. That's cool. Hello, Shelby Lynn. Yeah, that brush is doing nothing. Delete that brush. Cool. Okay, so we got that one. We're going to do another one. Nope, not another part of that mask. We're going to create a new one. We're going to do linear gradient. They keep adding masks, so I keep having to find them again. Do a linear gradient that kind of comes like this. I want to come up the edge of the cliff and then just dip onto the middle of the landscape. We'll stick with that. Cool. And then we'll do one more. We're going to go down to here. Everybody get ready. Everybody duplicate and invert. Everybody take a shot. And we will subtract with a... Actually, hang on a second. Can I do this? Let me do a duplicate and invert on that as well. I'm going to drag this one down to there. Cool. Now we've added it. Going to convert to subtract. And we're going to invert, flip it like that. There we go. We're also going to subtract with a brush and just get rid of whatever's going on here. We don't need that. So now we have three masks. We have a mask that's the sky. We have a mask that's the land in between. Then we have a mask that's that is the cliff face. And because we've copied that linear gradient and flipped it, the degree to which it goes from full strength to fading out is the exact same, just reversed. One last thing to do, and with a brush, that section in there. So we caught it not being there last time. Cool. Okay. So starting with the sky. I'm going to turn the texture up. I like having the text. I love what the clouds are doing. I love seeing the mountain in detail. Yeah, absolutely turning the texture up. It's going to look a little grainy. That doesn't bother me that much given it's the far distance. I pull the clarity down, it brightens it up. That actually does a substantial amount for that photo. Let's brighten that up a little bit. See if that helps with my noise. It does not. It makes it kind of the same or a little worse. All right, let's turn up the noise reduction a bit. I'll have enough of that without losing the texture, and I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. Okay, let's not worry about it. Let's worry about the photo looking good as opposed to worrying about the darkness and the details. Let's, all right, next one. We're gonna work on the cliff face because that's technically the subject of this photo in my mind. Like the cliff face is kind of where it's at. I could dehaze this more, but that's not gonna do what I'm looking to do. The highlights down a bit. Bring the shadows up again. I plan on saturating that up, and so I want to. So I want to make sure I've got room for it. Honestly, turning the clarity down kind of across the board it seems like a good effect for this. Usually, you think of turning up clarity, you think about it like getting that really harsh landscape, but I'm actually kind of liking a softer look. And we'll go here. This might be the spot to turn the. Let's see. We turn it up. We turn it down. Turn it up. I think this might be the spot to even. It might even be the spot to leave it alone. No. You know what? I'm wrong. We're turning it down. We're turning it down at different degrees. And then turn some shadows and crank the saturation there, but it's a little bit yellow for my taste. We're gonna adjust that just slightly. So I don't know if I want to bring the whites up or not. I like it, but I also like the clear distinction between the middle and the rock wall, which we will see more once we play with color. So let's play with color. Coming down here. All right, blues, obvious. We can turn them up. We can bring them down. We can do whatever. Like, blues are all doing their own thing. Gonna leave them alone for now. They are the most saturated part of the photo, and I don't feel the need to adjust yet. Yellows. Yellows are gonna get the middle. Let's turn the yellows down. Oranges. That's what I want to do. I want to turn those oranges up. I need the yellow somewhere. I need a little bit of yellow just to balance that out. Give it a little detail. I turn the oranges down a little bit. We get a little more texture in the cliff, and that's much closer to what it looks like in real life. Look at that. Yeah, no, that. I've got some photos tonight that we might get to that really where Black Canyon lives up to its name. This one's not one of them. This is one of the ones where you really get some of the beautiful vibrance in the rocks. All right, I'm gonna crop this up just a touch. Just because I don't love. Didn't love that little rock cairn that was sticking up the bottom. I don't think we got all of it. No, but something else. We're gonna come a little higher. Yeah, that feels like a pretty good balance. It gives it almost half the photo, which I like. Actually, it might be almost exactly half. How close was I? Spot on. Hey, look at that. I wasn't even looking at that marker. Okay. Anyway, back to color. Let's see. Turning the brightness of the yellows up isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think it actually helps. Like we said, turning the saturation down, or turning the saturation up usually means brightness goes down a little bit, and the reverse is also true. So I turn the brightness up, the saturation goes down a little bit, and that helps me get rid of that yellow that was hanging out in the middle. So I can push some greens and really enjoy that. We're gonna do more with that in a second. We're gonna go back to that mask, but for now we're gonna do that. And then blues. The blues are still kind of stronger than I need them to be is the wrong word. They're pretty strong. I'm going to leave them alone for now. I'm going to push. I have aqua doing some stuff. I'm going to push it to green so that we're consistent there. Blue isn't touching anything other than the sky, which is great. Purple not really doing much. Magenta kind of the same. Make sure I've removed my chromatic aberration lens corrections. Yes, cool. I like the vignetting. We're going to keep that. We actually might add to it. Cool. All right, so we'll stick with that for now. Let's see. What's our next step? The next thing I want to do, it might be the last thing I want to do, is grab this middle section again. I'd like to turn the saturation up on it, but I also want to turn the color just the tiniest bit more toward green to really get that differentiation between between it and the rocks. And then I'm going to go to the rocks. I'm going to turn the saturation up on them a little bit, knowing that I can pull, that I'm pulling up mostly the oranges and really letting those colors pop through. Did I actually play with, I don't know if I played with reds. Doesn't seem to be really anything. It's mostly orange and yellow. All right. I like how that looks. I like how colorful it is. I'm going to go off the masking for a second. Go back up to here, and I'm going to pull the saturation down just a touch. That's too much. Pull the vibrance down. like pulling. I don't know. I do kind of like pulling the vibrance down a little bit. Maybe not that much, but just a bit. I kind of like that. It gives it a. For some reason, I think in my head, saturation ends up being a like vibrance to some in some ways is the like it's the more mature of the two. Saturation tends to be bigger. What is a little more of an id versus vibrance being a little more having a little more of a super ego vibes. Hey, there you go. There's a sentence I bet no one has ever said. But the same way we talk about this on the channel a lot, where the highlights and shadows are kind of the like, you know, the children of whites and blacks, and how. But even though they are, it's not just, you know, it's not just highlights are a weaker adjustment. It's that they do there's a subtly different effect. The same is true with vibrance and saturation. Vibrance is kind of the, you know, it's the smaller swings when you go one way to the other or one side to the other, but it is. It does affect the photo slightly differently, and I like how it's making this one look. I really do. I'm going to pull the blacks down just a tiny touch more, just to give it a little bit more contrast, because that's my thing. And we'll set it to 3 stars. Happy, and yeah, good. I like a black and white version of this. All right, I'm going to try this. I'm going to start a 5-minute timer. And see if I can, and whatever the black and white version of this looks like at the end of that, I'm going to stop there and move on to something else. Virtual copy. I think I can probably do this in under 5 minutes. Switch to black and white. Come down to our color sliders. Let's turn orange up. You know, actually, let's turn yellow up and turn orange down. There we go, something like that. Give it a little bit of something going on there. Turn the greens down. We gotta differentiate between the landscapes. Turn the blue not more down, because that feels like it's. Just gotta find a balance here. Turning aqua up and green down might be, I think, is actually the answer. Lets us smoothly transition. Like, we have the darker green, you know, what is green in the front, and that gives us some contrast with the edge of the rocks. And then we have some lighter stuff back here, which gives us contrast with the darker mountain, which is part of the goal. Nope, leave that right alone. Purple. Playing a little bit in the mountains back there. Nah, if I turn it all the way up. Yeah, I think we'll leave that alone. Magenta, same deal. Maybe a couple of pixels in there. All right, that's looking good. I'm going to come back up to this mask here. Make sure the texture's up. Leave that alone. Let's go ahead and brighten this one. There we go. This one's about. Yeah, this one right now is about some harshness. So we're gonna lean into that. Now, leaning into the clarity, putting the clarity up that high makes it look like it's makes it look a little too Sin City, a little too cartoonish. I want it to be harsh, but not quite that. I dehaze it. Actually, not too bad if I dehaze it a little bit. Give it that nice contrast. Now we'll come up here. We'll pull the texture down a bit to make a distinction between. What I'm trying to do right now, because I don't have the color to make a distinction, is I'm trying to make the distinction between the rock wall and the little forest out here, I guess the plain, more noticeable. So turn the highlights up. I'll leave the whites where they are. But we're gonna bring the shadows down like that. There we go. And this photo is now turning into, in black and white, it's now turning into like the cliff edge, the road leading to the mountain. And that's pretty cool. I'm actually pretty happy with that. But I don't want to brighten up the mountain too much. Just a little bit, just a touch there. There we go. Yeah, we're gonna keep that as is. one more thing. I got 90 seconds left to do this. We're going to duplicate that mask. We're going to delete the brush. Going to delete the sky. So now we just have the mountain. We're going to put everything else back. So that mask is doing effectively nothing. Cool. And we're going to turn up the clarity. The clarity, turn the texture back up. There we go. Make that mountain really a centerpiece back there without disrupting the entire sky. I want to turn the blacks down. Maybe turn the shadows down a bit, just to give it a little bit more of an edge. Pull up the highlights, give it a little more contrast. Also turn the contrast up. Nope, turn the contrast up, darkens the whole thing. There's not enough brightness. Cool. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to sneak back down here to my color sliders. And just bring the blues down a bit. It's too much. Just like that. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with that. That looks pretty good. I don't think there's anything else I want to do to it in the last 18 seconds I've got. Need to get an on-screen timer for this kind of thing. There we go. I like that. Brightening up that without... It was a little too contrasty for my taste. And time. Cool. In 5 minutes, we got a black and white version. Look at that. Beautiful. Let me know in the comments or in chat which one you prefer, if you like the color one or the black and white. I definitely have a preference, but I like both. All right. One down. X many more to go. Let's do this one. I've been kind of chomping at the bit to play with this one. This is one of my long exposures. This is a how long was this? This was a minute long exposure, but it was shot middle of the day. Had a big lens filter on the thing. And because I had a good amount of wind coming through, or at least coming through the sky, so the trees are in pretty good shape. That's cool. But like we've got the clouds moving, and the water ends up being pretty much completely clear. Or not completely clear, but completely still, even though the wind was blowing. So if I switch this to color, ooh, that looks really good. And we can see the rocks and everything, and this nice reflection in the water. So that's what we're gonna work with. I'm gonna start this one in color as well. I'm also gonna keep. Let's see. Oh man, I want that mountain mostly centered. So gonna have to do that. Though I would like to get rid of some of this stuff. We'll see if I can do it. All right, let's come down here and let's clean this up a little bit, remove a couple of things. Start with that guy. See if we can get rid of this. I'm wondering if that intricacy will work. Pretty well, actually. Cool. And can we get rid of that? Nice. What that's meant to be a reflection of. Give me a sec. Work on that one. Okay, selected it. Let's refresh and see if it gives me something a little different. It's giving me that reflection pretty much no matter what. It's getting weirder. Let's see. All right, you know what? I'm going to live with that for now. If it gets too distracting, I'll come back to it and clean it up some other way. It's actually a really easy way to clean that up if I want to get to it. We'll come back to that. All right, first thing. Let's see. What is the first thing? I guess the first thing is to play with some more big sliders and see what happens. Ooh, look at that. Yep, okay, this is going to be one of those higher clarity photos. I don't think it's going to be much dehazing, though. I think the dehazing is a little bit harsh. I might do it like just on the mountains, but not much yet. Texture. This photo has so much texture already. I think I'm going to be a little more specific with it in terms of what I grab. All right, let's continue from here. So I think in this case I need masks. Let's see. I turn the highlights up. It's mostly just the sky. All right, we're just gonna turn those down. I'm gonna absolutely get that blur going. And shadows is pretty much everything else except for the mountain. Is the mountain changing with the highlights? Not really. Maybe a little bit. All right. Yep, shadows is everything else. We're going to come back to that. That's going to be done individually. And then, yeah, okay. Let's do some masking. Let's go ahead and get the sky first. It's the easy one. Same thing we just did on the last one, actually. I wasn't planning on this being a thing, but just like the last one, we're gonna have a little fun with creating a couple masks and then merging them. All right, yeah, that looks fine. It's got a touch of the mountain. That's okay. I guess I might as well subtract that. You know what? Nope, cancel that. That little bleed over onto the mountain is probably gonna help us with color. All right, let's create an object mask, and I'm gonna try. My goal here is to get the entire lake. The whole thing there. Let's see what this can do. Exciting. I'm excited to work on this photo. This photo's been one that it's had a lot of potential in my head. Okay. Not a bad start. Got a lot of this harder to get shoreline, which makes me happy. All right, add another object, and we're gonna get all this. There we go. That's coming along. All right. Let's zoom in. Let's do one more. See if I can get the far edge here. Let's come to 33%. Add another object. If you've been on the channel before, you know there's a lot of times we'll have to build a whole thing out of an object brush, a whole pantheon of object brushes. So doing it with 3 or 4 is actually kind of relaxing. That's pretty great. All right, except for that edge over there, and then there's this section here. Okay, cool. So we're gonna add with a brush, and we're gonna get that spot. We're gonna get this spot down here. We are going to get a little creative in getting this area down here. I think we can do it. At least get most of it. Just enough to be. Enough to just have it not stick out, and we'll adjust that as we go. Let's get that as well. And we're going to come back over here. That all looks really good, except for that one spot that we need to clean up. That, yep, cool. Nice, 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 nice. All right, now we're going to subtract with a brush. And we're just going to, let's turn the feathering down. And we're just going to make this smaller. I'm going to zoom all the way in. There we go. It's going to be one of those moments where you can... There we go. The trick, by the way, for that is if you click on one spot with a brush and you hold Shift and click, it'll just draw a straight line. So yeah, you can just see it draw a straight line and subtracted everything that it needed to. Cool. All right, so we have our water. Let's go ahead and work on that. Step 1, turn the shadows up. Let's brighten this thing up. Step 2, turn the highlights down. Let's not lose the detail. Let's make sure we keep this as a thing. All right, if I dehaze it, that's going to darken it, but it's also going to add some saturation. I don't want to darken it. I'm also not sure I want to add too much clarity. A little bit's not a bad idea, actually. Makes the reflection stand out a little more. Texture, absolutely. One of my favorite things about this is that we can see the like lake shore or the lake bottom underneath. In the darker spots, so the more texture we have, the more we'll see of that, which is awesome. Okay, those are just rocks. Cool. All right. Definitely want to turn the saturation up, but I'm going to wait for that for a second. Nope, don't. All right, let's see. Turn the whites up. That's going to might be a bit of a problem. This is one of those moments where I'm trying to strike that balance between getting the shadows to be bright enough to see what's going on while not overexposing anything. But that looks pretty good, actually. I think that's interesting. Turn the exposure up, but that's now. Yeah, let's keep that. Let's keep that as is right now. Keep that. Yeah, we're going to keep all that. That all looks pretty good. All right. Let's see. Where are we going next? Okay. Yep. One more. Now the next thing. This will be the fun one. We're going to start with a duplicate and invert, which will give me all of that. And we're going to subtract the sky, which will give us just the landscape in between. And that is where now we can play with some of this stuff. Don't want to turn the clarity up on those. I don't think I want to turn it down. No, turning it down is the wrong idea here, especially because I got the mountain back there. I say turning the texture up here feels like a good move, giving us really getting into the details of this place. Have some fun with color on this one. Might dehaze this a little bit just to get. I don't know. You know what? I'm kind of enjoying the brightness right now. We're gonna keep it the way it is. Highlights. Nah, we don't need to overexpose that. That's fine. Some shadows though. That's gonna be more aggressive. Obviously is. I'm gonna bring those up just a touch because I like having the trees on the edge. Let's see. Also, bringing the highlights down helps soften that out. I want this photo to have a lot of texture while also being, I want this photo to have a lot of texture while also still being, without it being super high contrast in any aggressive way. And I think doing the highlights down and the shadows up is a good way to do that. The blacks in now. I'm gonna bring the blacks down on everything else. Darken that sky up a little bit. We haven't done anything with the sky yet. That's gonna be fun. And then the water. This blacks down a bit, giving a little more contrast, a little more saturation to it. Cool. All right. Now the one other question is, let's try to do a new mask. We're gonna select an object. I want to try to get the mountain in the background, just our guy here as our centerpiece. Just to be able to do some slight adjustments to them as we go. This is a photo from Maroon Bells, by the way. I haven't actually said that. Cool, got that. This is actually perfect because it got the edge of this landscape. And now if I do subtract sky, there we go. It gets rid of the stuff that was in the sky and gives me just the mountains, which is awesome. Because now this one I kind of want to turn some clarity and some texture up on. Actually, I almost kind of want to dehaze it a little bit. There you go. A little more of that. I can also push it a little bit toward blue because that's kind of where it's landing. Something like that. Yeah, a little touch of blue. Yeah, I think the highlights being up. I think the blacks being down a bit. Too purple. Okay, cool. That is looking like a really good starting point. Actually, looking like a pretty good everything point. We haven't played with the sky yet, though. We have to play with the sky. These are the rules. All right. I think the goal with this photo is bright and friendly. We'll do a black and white one that'll be moodier. So we're gonna stick with that. We're gonna let's put a good amount of texture in the sky. That makes that that blurring even more interesting to me. Ooh, we got some spots to clean up. That's fun. If I dehaze it, we're gonna be moody. We're gonna be too moody on this one. Also a little bit cartoonish. We're gonna avoid that. Let's clean up some spots. Nice. This is one of the things that, even though I don't love that it pops up because it means I need to clean my sensor. I do sort of occasionally enjoy doing with a photo edit because it just, we're cleaning it up. We're making the photo slightly better. And it's a bit relaxing to just sort of, go through it and find the spots that need cleaning and just touch them up. I don't even know how well these are showing up on stream. Let's see. Not a lot happening in there. This all looks pretty good. Oh, there's one there. Let's get rid of that. Just like that. Cool. Anything else? There's one right there. And this seems like a small thing right now, but when this gets printed and if I publish it in a large format, this is gonna matter. So I like to do it now because I have seen it happen in other things, and it's always always feels a little weird to me when I see other photographers doing it because it's a detail that I have trouble ignoring. And it's also a thing that it's an attention to detail that makes me happy. So, okay, that's in pretty good shape, I think. course, you start, and then you can't stop seeing them everywhere. That's the problem. Every slight imperfection you want to fix. There we go. I will fix the imperfections that I brought with me. Cool. Alright, so let's play with color a little bit. Mostly because, and I've got hope here, let's find out. Come on, no aqua on this one? I figured I was a shoo-in with that lake. Nope, that's coming up as green. Alright. Ah, it's actually disappointing. I was really looking forward to the aqua slider doing something. It's doing a tiny bit. It's not doing much. Boo. That makes me I gotta start taking photos intentionally with aqua in them, or just shifting all the colors to aqua. Alright, brightening the greens up definitely looks good. Really add some detail to that. Let's see. Saturating the purples is going to be a little bit heavier than I want it to be. Saturating the magentas, same deal. Reds, same problem. Yeah, let's not saturate the reds. Let's bring up the oranges a bit, because that's going to give the lake that personality, which I think looks cool. Maybe not that much. Yellow is going to do a lot to everything, but yellow is going to be kind of a middle ground, and let's do some of that. I'm going to push yellow a little bit color-wise. Come on. Hey, Lightroom, if anyone from Adobe's watching, it'd be real nice if you'd make these, like, you know, the little arrows that click off and make our controls, like, auto-hide. It'd be nice to be able to turn that feature just off, because I know I never want them to go away. Let's see. I think that yellow's let's bring that saturation down. That yellow is oversaturated. I want a little bit of it, but not that much. Still mad about aquas. Never gonna stop being mad about that. Green saturation, a little bit, but I don't want to overdo it. We know where blue's gonna be. Let's see. Purple, just the mountains over there. Let's turn the purples up a little bit, and the magentas. And the reds. And this is the thing I talk about. You know, this is a good example here. So, I'm gonna look at, you know, looking at the color that's on these, that's on the mountain there. If I was to do just one of these, I was to turn it all the way up. You see how there's like weird patches of it there? It's like there's some spots like and you can sort of see like objects outlined in that color. I think purple will do it even better. Yeah, so like it looks kind of rough. It has kind of, you can see exactly where purple ends and other colors begin. And so one of the things that I try to do when I'm trying to push those colors is I try to make sure the colors next to them, so in this case red, purple, and magenta, which all kind of coincide here, are all sort of around the same level, so they're working in concert with each other. Look at that. That looks really good. All right, let's come back up to that one mask on the mountain. I want to adjust my colors. I think I went a little too far toward purple. I think having blue in there is a little better. Yeah, a little bit. Let's have a little bit of that. Let's go a little bluer. Just a smidge, like that. Make it stand out really nice. I'm also going to bring the whites up a bit, just to... No, that's not what I want it to do. Contrast. I want it to be a little brighter with, yeah, maybe some lower contrast. That's actually better. Yeah, do that, and then I'm going to bring the blacks down a little more so that we're brightening, but also giving it some darkness. And then, yeah, let's take a look at the sky real quick. I feel like the sky, we could pull the saturation down even a little bit. Let's see. All right. I want to experiment with one thing. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to go to here. We're going to take this object, to duplicate object 2, and we're going to create a new mask with it. So object 2 here is just that spot. It's just that bit there. I'm going to use a brush to add this stuff in down here. Took my overlay, make sure I got all that. I got all that. Cool. And this is because this is the reflection of the sky, and I'm curious to see if we can get that to look a little more like the sky. No, put that back. Don't need to play with texture, clarity, or dehaze right now. This is about color. So we're going to bring the highlights down. Push it to blue. Not that much. That's not giving it to me. All right, let's try turning the saturation up. I think there's just not a lot of information there. See, now I'm just trying to push it to the extremes to see what I can find in it. Hey, that's nuts. Okay. All right. Let's reset this mask. Keep the highlights down where they were. Put the saturation back. Yep, okay. So that's got some weird color stuff going on there that I don't want to incorporate. Let's go a little bit. No, see, now we're losing it. All right, put the saturation back where it was, which is 0. We also sneak in here and clean this up just the tiniest bit. Subtract brush. This time I'm going to turn the feathering back up. Boom. And just get this sort of edge out of there. See what that's looking like here. Yeah, that's looking better. It's looking like it's not bleeding onto the mountain as much. Just that little edge. This isn't even so much about removing that edge as it is just sort of blending it a little better. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. All right, let's see, where were we? Turn the whites down. Nope, that looks awful. I'll do the same over there, that's fine. Shadows down. Already turned the texture on the lake up to its maximum, so that's not gonna make much of a difference. Maybe a tiny bit. Clarity is gonna be way too aggressive of an effect, so let's leave that alone. And dehaze is gonna be a bit more aggressive than I want it to be. So let's leave it at that. That gives it a little bit more, personality. Let me try. I'm actually curious. If I do an add brush, I just want to see what happens if I include this mountain here. If I go the opposite direction, just brush that in. That looks better. That genuinely looks better. Okay, here we go. Yeah, we've added that. Our subtract brush, we're going to go ahead and turn that off because we've now included everything that it was subtracting. Check the overlay. Yeah, I think that looks better. I really do. I think that's more interesting. I think it feels like a better encapsulation. Okay, let's see. Let me turn our subtract brush back on because it's not doing anything. Actually, hang on. Let's delete it. It's really not doing anything. And now we're going to subtract again with a brush, but we're going to do it right over here, just to smooth out this edge. Yeah, I think that helps. How do I turn that off? Is that an aggressive change? No, marginal. Cool. All right, one last thing to do, and I will be happy with this. Let's see. I'm going to take another crack at getting rid of this weird reflection down here. It's drawing my attention in a way that I don't love. So, go back to this. Click onto the one here that we were working on. What are we doing? I'm not trying to add one. Delete that. This one. That's what we want to be working on. And instead of it being a remove tool, we're going to try a heal tool, which will click onto that. There we go. Let's zoom out a little bit more. Come on, guys. All right. Let's do this. Let's delete it and do a new one. So, this time using the heal tool. Let's see if this works. The remove tool is more of like a content-aware thing, the same way you'd find in Photoshop. The heal tool is closer to a duplication tool, where it tries to find something nearby and merge it together and sort of create a reference, which I think is probably the better idea here, so I can find a spot that doesn't look incredibly obvious, like that one. Let's come out to here, actually. Let's come out into the middle of the... See if we can get it kind of wedged right up in there. How's that gonna do? Refresh that. There we go. That's where you put it. Okay. I'm sticking with heal. Heal's gonna match color, which is really good. Cool. On the fence about how that looks. Open that back up. Back to remove. Let's see what it does. It's actually probably better. Now that we've adjusted a little bit. Nope, gotta keep that all the way up. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with how that's coming out. Cool. All right, 3 stars for that one, and that one's one I definitely got to send to my parents. Check my crop on this now. I'm thinking about it. It's my horizon. Not too bad. If I tell you to auto correct that, couldn't do it automatically. Too difficult. There we go. That feels better to me. Hard to tell you why. I feel like that's right. Somebody feel free to chime in and tell me if they think it was more level the first time. All right, let's do a virtual copy. And again, I'm going to set a 5-minute timer and see if I can do this. See if I can do a black and white version in 5 minutes. And all right, here we go. Start. This will be a fun thing. If I'm gonna keep doing this, I'm gonna need an on-screen timer. This one shouldn't take a whole lot of work, though. I don't think. I think this one's gonna be pretty cool. All right, blues. Moving down a bit. Let's come to our masks. Let's take the sky and make it, and go moody with it. Not sure I need to dehaze it that much. I'm gonna just, I want it to feel kind of chaotic without feeling cartoonish. Bring the blacks back up. There we go. That looks good. I'm actually really happy with that. All right, let's come to our. Let's come down to the water. Let's do that. Let's get a little moodier with it, just a bit. There we go. Put this down. Bring the blacks down a little more. Almost, not that much. Maybe a touch less. Hang on, where were we at before? We're at 14. Okay, let's bring that. Split the difference there. Go to 25. Yeah, look at that. Now we're pulling out that reflection. This is looking really good. How am I doing on time? Ha! That took 90 seconds. Hell yeah. Shelby, you're saying the right feels slightly higher than the left on this one now. I don't know if going back to what I had fixes that. It's also way too early in the morning for me to be telling left from right. I'll come back to this. Okay, black and white. Let's see. Let's come down to our colors. Because I'm liking how everything else is looking. Actually, hang on a second. I want the middle there to be a little more contrasty. There we go. Not quite that much. A little bit like this. Yep, let's do it that way, and let's come down to a spot for a little bit of clarity. Something like that. Cool. All right, let's come on down to our colors. That's where I want to push greens up a bit. Yeah, that makes such a nice substantial difference. I'm really happy with that. Because it's so easy. With this photo, the thing I was worried about, it's so easy, and I'm talking, to like just darken the middle and just make it the mountain and the reflection in the sky. And I like that, but I also want to honor the rest of the landscape. It's important we're aware of the, it's one of those, in order for light to exist, darkness must be present. Like, got to make sure we're taking care of making sure we're not losing the darker spots. I like turning that up. I like turning the orange up a little bit. I don't like turning them up so much that we're losing some stuff in the... I like turning it up. I like what it does to the lake. I don't like what it does to the landscape itself. I feel like it's a little bit distracting. I'm going to turn that down even. Now we can turn the yellows up a good bit. Not that much. I'm like there. There we go. And the same thing with using the color sliders in black and white, instead of it being about maintaining perfect contrast, and this is really showing up just kind of in the little bits of the water down there. Turn that up. Instead of it being about maintaining the colors from, keeping the colors all sort of even to each other in black and white, if I want contrast, assuming it's not super obvious where the edges are, if I want contrast in black and white, it makes sense to have the sliders going in opposite directions. Actually good. Turn that up. And now if I want a little more contrast on the mountain, I'll turn the blues down a touch, but that's actually causing me slight problems with the sky there. So let's put this back where it was. Yeah, I'm going to turn the mountain down a little bit from there. Let's see. 20 seconds. Okay, let's finish it up. Where's my mountain? There's my mountain. Let's bring the blacks down a bit with it. Give it a little more contrast and personality to it. If I turn the clarity up on it, that goes a little cartoonish. All right, dehaze a little more. There's the timer. Okay. I'm actually really happy with how that looks. I'm going to give the whole thing, just to take the blacks down just a touch, because I always like to do that and give it that little bit of extra. There we go. A little bit of extra contrast, make it really stick out for itself. There we go. Boom. I like that. Hands off, full stop, rock on. 3 stars. Amazing. All right. Moving along. Let's see. What's the next one on the list? You know what? I've been wanting to play with this juniper tree one. Let's do that. Oh, that looks good in color too. Ooh, okay. I got an idea for the color one. I think I want to start with black and white though. And this is why I didn't. I remember how far I went with this on the sorting stream. I remember what my difference was, and remember why I stopped. Let's go ahead. Let's see if I can select subject. See if it'll grab the tree for me. If not, I'm gonna have to use object brushes again. And we love object brushes, guys. Genuinely, we do. It's one of my favorite features on Lightroom. Hey, that's genuinely kind of perfect. All right, cool. And then we're gonna do all right, here's one thing we got to do. A couple spots here. We got to subtract the sky. So we'll start with subtract sky and see what it removes. See if it gets any of the spots that I'm worried about here. Wait for it. Does that make a difference? I think it actually might have. It did. Whoa, hey, that did most of the work for me. Excellent. If you want to know what I'm looking at, look at the edge here. if I don't subtract the sky, like it's got a lot of the stuff in here, it's got a lot of stuff around here. The subtracting the sky cleared out a lot of those spots. I got to clear a couple more. These are objects, but these are the big ones. This will be easy. So we're going to subtract this little T-shaped guy. Going to grab that, get rid of that. You know what? New plan. Subtract with a brush. We're going to do this by hand. Let's come into 50%. Because this doesn't need to be perfect, but it's got to be closer than that was. Just like that, and make it smaller. Nope, I don't want to move the brush. I want to keep brushing, though. Just get rid of that. And get in there. Cool. Also, by subtracting with a brush means I can just... I don't have to create new object masks every time. I can just sort of clean it up that way. Also, thank you to everyone the people who are watching, who are spending your early morning with me and going through this, watching me adjust trees. Okay, cool. So there's our juniper tree, looking great. You know what? I do kind of want. Did this guy get those? Not quite. Okay. I'll leave that as is for now. See if it becomes a problem. All right. Actually, I wonder if I could remove that. Leave it for now. All right. So now, typical duplicate and invert. I'm going to take a shot. Nope, I finished my tea. Get the last couple drops in there. Boom. All right. So, that's true, Shovelin. It is not morning until you actually sleep. This is a law of the universe. Right. So I'm just going to texture up on that tree. Everything else, I want to dehaze. Get a little more of that darkness going. I was turning the clarity up on that and keeping the clarity kind of where it was. It's actually pretty cool because the clarity isn't affecting the trunk as much. It's more affecting the leaves. And I like the leaves sort of being their own thing, but I really like getting the texture on that trunk. That looks really cool. I don't think I cropped this one yet. I don't think I need to. I'm actually really, really, really happy with this composition. Like, I could possibly see myself bringing... No, I can't even see myself doing that. I might see myself taking this up like that, but even then, I'm really happy with this. I feel like this composition really honors that tree, and that makes me really happy. All right, let's see. What else needs to be done? Come back to here. We got some highlights in the sky, which we're going to turn... Highlights and everything else, which we're going to turn those up a little bit. Shadows. I like turn the shadows up too. Just give it a little more brightness there, and then we'll turn the blacks down a touch. Actually, I'm going to do that separately in a second. All right. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. All right, we're going to do a duplicate and invert. I'm going to go back and invert this again. The reason I do that is, and we're going to, let's see. Basically, I'm just trying to get the sky on this one. So we're going to go ahead and delete subject 1. That gives it, there we go. That gives us just the sky. Actually, hang on a second. I'm doing this wrong. Oh, I don't want the sky. I want everything but the sky. Convert to subtract. Convert to subtract. Let's see. Let's go back. Let's get that subtract brush going again. Let's get rid of all this. I want to leave the sky alone. I want everything but. But I want to make sure it matches with everything else I'm doing. So we'll do that. Cool. So now I can play with the ground a little bit if I need to. I was going to bring the blacks down on the ground just a touch. Make that tree trunk really stand out in a really, really pretty way. Yeah, I like how that's looking. I'm happy with that one. Yeah, something about that. I don't know if I need to adjust my centering a little bit. No, that one's actually, this is one of those times I nailed it with the composition, so I'm super happy with that. All right, let's go ahead and give that 3 stars. Let's create a copy. And we're going to do a color version. That looks really good. All right, here's what I want to do. I almost want to reset this. For some reason, I think this one needs to be softer. So lose the dehazing. Keep the clarity. I'm gonna keep most of the non like brightness related settings. Keep a mix of those. I didn't do anything with the tree at all. That's nuts. I didn't do anything with the tree. I didn't need to. Hang on a sec. Let's go back to the black and white version. Leave that alone. Take this moment to see what I can do about pulling out some of the really nice detail in that tree trunk without losing the contrast to it. Nah, okay, keep that. Contrast is too aggressive, I think. Maybe a touch, honestly. That actually looks pretty good. Just a little less. Okay, cool. There we go. Did that. Now we'll go back to the color version. I'm not doing a timer on this one because I know that I want to take my time to actually work on this one a little bit. All right. Nothing else here is color related. Nothing here is color related. Cool. Back to here. And yes, that's been set. Put the highlights back. Let's go with here. Let's go to clarity down a bit on that. And the texture up to balance it out. Let's see if that's making what that looks like without. It's basically just turning the texture up a little bit. I found the exact balance there. You take the clarity down by a certain amount, and then you put the texture up by double that, and you're just about double that, and you're gonna end up with effectively the same thing. So. The contrast there down by 39, and we're in the contrast here. Yeah, this is one that I'm looking at it going, I think this needs to be a low contrast photo. Like low contrast with a good amount of gentle saturation is kind of what I'm feeling on this one. And that's going to be done with my color sliders. Let's come down to there. Actually, what if I turn the contrast down here? That's going to get, no, that gets to be too much. I think this is a good starting point. We'll come back to it after I come back from the color sliders. All right, let's see. Blues, turn them up a good bit. Aquas, one day, guys, one day aqua. One day the world will be ours. Greens, yellows up a little bit. I don't want to go oversaturated. I want this to be gentle. Orange, yeah, orange is a good one to bring up. Let's see. Reds, not really doing much. Okay, that's good. I think I can bring that's the part of me wants to bring the greens down. I try to get that softness together. Let me adjust the green hue and make it just slightly more yellow, so the green on the leaves and the bushes around match. And now if I turn the greens down, yeah, that looks good. We're trying to be gentle with this one, which I'm enjoying. Turn the greens up, I can turn them down. They're not really, nah, that's not really worth doing. Blues, same deal. We could get really moody, but we don't need to. Purples, not really in play. We're sticking with greens and yellows and oranges on this one. Orange. Again, I'm trying to be gentle with this. That looks pretty good. Let's turn the greens up as well. Get that nice sort of low contrast going. Let's come back up to here and do some more with this. Turn the contrast down more like that. Again, turn the saturation up, feels a little aggressive. Turn the vibrance up maybe a touch. There we go. Look at that. Look at the blue we're getting in that. Especially the blue in the background. That makes me really happy. Let's see. I want to turn the texture down. I could bring dehaze down a bit and just soften the colors there. There's something about this that to me looks like I see a faded postcard. That's kind of what I'm liking about this. It feels kind of that's what I'm liking about this. I'm trying to sort of grab some of that. There we go. There we go. Get a little low contrast going. That's what I'm talking about. And doing dehaze like that isn't quite let's see. Isn't quite, I think it doesn't quite do the give me a white vignette, because I thought about doing that. I thought about doing something going down here to the let's see, my effects, and just doing a white vignette around the edges, but that seems too easy. I want to see if I can do it with the actual process of the photo, and I like how that's looking. Now the one thing I do need to do is go back to here and just slightly bring the dehaze down. Actually, not even that. Just bring the shadows down, the blacks up. There we go. Just get a little bit brighter. Get some of those darker spots to not be quite so dark. Yeah, look at that. That makes me so happy to look at. I'm back down to my saturation. I'm going to push blue up just a touch more, because I think I can get away with that. And then I'm going to push yellow up just a tiny little bit. Yeah, I like that. That feels peaceful to me, and I think it's fun that we've got it contrasted with the much more moody black and white one, which I do really like. Like, that feels just so stark. Actually, I'm going to do one other thing. I want to come back to here, and I want to brighten the highlights on this one, just to make it stand out the tiniest bit. I'm going to come back to everything else. I'm going to bring the blacks down just a bit, just to... it's a bit much. Let's bring the shadows down just a bit. There we go. Just make the tree stand out just the tiniest bit more. That feels good. We want to make the tree... That's the thing. I want to make the tree stand out in both, but I want to make... This one's got to be about the contrast. They both have to be about contrast, but this one's about, texture and in this case exposure, lightness, darkness, contrast, whereas this one is about color contrast and about kind of keeping that nice softness while still having some really, really beautiful detail in there. That looks great. Oh my god, I want to put that I want to put that photo on a postcard. I really do. I want to mail people that photo. Sweet. Okay, let's do another one. Let's see. We've done that one. We've done that one. I went back right before I started streaming and tweaked this one a little bit, which didn't make a whole lot of changes from the last time I worked on it. Just tweaked it a bit, kind of solved my sky issue of wanting to keep the sky not totally overexposed, because I think there's only a couple spots, but also making sure this tree in the center remains the focal point. And then I did a black and white version. Where I gave a little more texture to the sky, while still keeping the core world of the photo intact. Let's see. Ooh, you know what? I've been wanting to do this one. Let's do this one. This one's fun. This one's already got a little bit of vignetting going on just because of the lens filter. So, yes, this is another one where I use the lens filter. This was another. How long was this? This was another minute-long exposure. Which is why it's a little bit hazy. Have some fun with this. All right, so start off. Bring the highlights down. Let's get that detail. Bring the shadows up. Let's get the reverse. There we go. Okay, cool. First thing I got to do is I got to crop this in just a bit, just to avoid the edges of that lens filter. I'm just going to do this and this, and a tiny little bit of that, and same thing up here, a little bit down. There we go. I think that deals with it. Almost. Gotta adjust this side just a touch more. Let's come down here like that and come up here like that. Cool. We may crop this a little more specifically. Actually, I can pull this over. Gotta come up a little more. There we go. I can actually do that. Let's get the whole thing, but I kind of like... Yeah, this one feels like it's about that mountain. There we go. About the mountain and its connection to the river. Cool. All right, let's keep working on it. Let's see. Uh, clarity. Clarity is going to have a good impact, but I want to do that separately. Dehaze. Dehaze actually is making a slight difference, but not. I'm going to do that separately with the landscape, and then texture. Honestly, turning the texture up on the whole thing, I think adds a good bit to it. I think that makes it. It gives it a little bit of. Yeah, I think adding texture, like it adds to the water a little bit, but for the most part, it just adds to the landscape and the sky, and everything gets to be its own thing. All right, let's clean up some spots. Yes, remove tool, please. Thank you. That one. Funny thing is, I can kind of tell in some cases, not necessarily with this photo, but in some cases I can kind of tell where the spots are going to be, just by virtue of, like, starting to understand where the specks of dust on my sensor are. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to wait till I finish with the water before I start going through and cleaning up spots I don't know if I'm going to have to clean up. In case you're wondering, the spots on the sensor, what that is so when you're shooting, you have something called depth of field, which is basically, I still haven't found a great way to explain this overall, but if like, okay, so if you're, from where we're standing, where we're shooting, like you've got this in the foreground, and then you got the bridge and the trees in the midground, and then you've got the mountain and the sky in the background, right? Shooting with a shallower depth of field, which means a lower f-stop, means like I can get maybe just the foreground in focus, or just the middle ground, or just the background, and you can move, like you're adjusting your depth of field. Your f-stop is is kind of the depth of how much you can have in focus, and then adjusting your focus shifts that slice forward or backward. Let me see if I've got any good ones kind of in this little thing that would explain it. I don't know if I do. I think those are most of those are Alaska photos that are intentionally kind of higher depth of field. Let's see. I'm going to the library and we will find a photo real quick. I know there's a good one. I know there's a good one in here. Kevlar Pass. Here we go. Okay, so something like this. So this is at f11, which is usually a higher depth of field, but because we're so close to this flower, like this is, I'm on a wide lens, I'm basically right up in this flower's business. Even though I have a very wide slice of my depth of field, it's still, the flower is close, feels to the camera like it's far enough away from everything else that the mountain is out of focus. Versus something like this, where also shot at f11, but if I zoom in on and then black and white, this photo doesn't look quite as cool as if I put it in color and we can see all the flowers. But if I zoom in on the flowers, they're all in, like, there's a lot of detail in there, they're all in pretty good focus. And then the mountain as well, like there's that depth of field. And the sky, you can see the clouds in. Man, this photo is actually really good. Cool, let me see what I got one right before it. Nah, this photo's pretty good. 1 star, we're going to come back to that. Anyway, so that's a basic explanation of depth of field. Let's go back to the quick import, or the quick collection, and we'll come back to the one we were working on, which was down here. It was this one. Cool. So you have this. So that's your depth of field. At higher depth of fields, you can get your depth of field deep enough, because the way depth of field works is that you have your focus point, and then as you increase your depth of field, you're not only increasing further out, you're increasing back. So your focus point, I think my focus point here was the bridge actually, and then everything, and my depth of field just focused, out both ways. And in this case, because I was at f18, because I needed to darken the photo down to get it to have a long enough exposure to get the water flowing the way I wanted it to. The depth of field went far enough back that it actually started catching the dots on the sensor. Like those specks of dust are far, like my depth of field was far enough back that they're actually slightly in focus. In this case, if I think I've got a photo, not a long exposure, but a photo from the same spot where I didn't have the filter on, so I was going with a light, a smaller f-stop. Those dots are not going to show up. Okay, so let's mask. Let's do some masking here. In this case, I'm going to try a color range. Because what I want is white. I can adjust it there. Okay, let's see. Something like that. We'll start with that. And then we will, let's see. I want to do this. Let's subtract the sky. Let's start with that. Let's get rid of the sky. I am doing this completely backwards, and it's going to take me a second to figure this one out. Let's see. Okay. Invert that. Move the sky down here. All right. Let me create a new mask and see what I can do with this. Let's select the sky. And let's invert it so we get everything else. And then we will also subtract color range here. It's giving us a similar thing. So that's actually looking pretty good. Subtract, let's do add. Yes, add brush. Let's make sure all this stuff here is included. Basically what I'm trying to do, I'm going to go ahead and underexpose all of this so I can see exactly where the mask is affecting. What I'm trying to do is get everything that's not the sky or the water. Anything that's not flowing is my goal here. Let's check the overlay. That's looking pretty good, honestly. And if I need to adjust my color range, I can come here and kind of add to or subtract from it. And in this case, I can add to it like that, which is increasing my subtraction. Means I can come back to this, come back to in here, and I can paint this back in. Overlay off, please. Thank you. Though I'll take it back. I actually kind of like how that looks. It gives me a little bit of. Yeah, we'll stick with that for now. Okay. Delete this. This was a first draft. Here we go. All right. So back to here. I'm gonna put the exposure back. Oh, and that's the other thing. And then we're gonna do a duplicate and invert, so we get everything else. Now we'll take our subtract brush and we'll get rid of all this. Alright, so check this out. This might actually work pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and erase that. I'm going to go ahead and get this. And yes, I'm making a mess, which is fine. And then I'm going to move the sky up above that. So we've subtracted everything else and we've added the sky. It's fun, the little logic that comes with this kind of masking. Let's get that. Let's get this. Let's get the corner of that rock. There we go. Let's get this little spot down here, because that shouldn't be part of it. Cool. There we go. All right. Sweet. So now we've got the water and we've got the land. Let's come back to the land for a second. Put the exposure back where it was. It actually looks pretty good to start with. All right. Let's see. Clarity, dehaze. I want to darken that. I think the land looks pretty good, kind of as is. I want to give it a little bit of extra. The difference being here that we're getting the stuff that's not flowing fast and the stuff that is. And so, what's my overlay look like here? Cool. And so I want to make sure the difference is notable. I also really don't like that color, that yellowish green there. I'm gonna work on that when I get down to color adjustments. Oh, I need to turn the shadows up. I'm going to keep that right where it is. That's pretty good. All right, now we're going to come back and get our sky. We already turned the highlights down. I want to find the balance there, because I like having it. No, that might be a separate thing. Okay, come back down here. I turn the texture up or down. Let's see, turn the clarity down maybe? Turn the clarity up. Oh, okay, clarity up and texture down seems like a good way to go. Turn the dehaze down a bit to brighten. Nope, keep that as is. That looks pretty good. Turn clarity up, and then we're going to turn the shadows up. Nope, that's not solving my problem. Let's turn the blacks up. Still not solving my problem. Okay, I put the clarity back where it was. Now we can turn the shadows up. I was trying to. There's this little dark edge kind of right in there that I was trying to get rid of when I had the shadows or the clarity up there. There we go. Now we can turn that down without losing too much. That's starting to look good. For some reason, for me, when I work with the blacks, it tends to be, at least in my head, tends to sort of be like adding a little bit of salt to a dish. It's the little adjustment that just makes everything else look a little bit sharper and a little bit better, and that I really like. Okay, let's come back up here. Part of me wants to just crop this all the way to here. And just take out everything on that side. I don't think it's a good idea. Nope, come back. There we go. I'm gonna crumb in a little bit here. I think this edge we can. There we go. That looks better. Which also lets me come in a little bit here if I wanted to, but I don't. I think I need that. I want that space. I want that little bit of breathing room. That also looks pretty good because I get the whole river going back there. You know what? Let's keep that. Let's do that. Let's go all the way wide with it. Bring it in just a tiny bit. Yeah, because now the river is becoming a whole thing. All right, back to masks. One more thing I want to do. This is our mask of the sky and the water. Duplicate and invert. Step 1. Uninvert it, so we get back to this, just a duplicate of the mask. And now we're going to remove the sky. Really? Okay. Different thing. Convert to subtract. Get rid of the sky. There we go. Subtract brush. Get rid of all this. I don't want anything touching up here except for this one's just about the water. That's the point right at this point. It's just about the water. Lose that. Lose all this. Let's bring this down. Let's lose all this stuff. Again, coming down here. Nope, it's a bit much. Let's do that again. We're going to subtract an object because doing the brush there's a little bit weird. And we're going to grab that, see what it gives me. Hopefully it's pretty close. I still need more tea. Pretty great, Lightroom. Keep it up. You're doing good. All right, let's see. Again, get that subtract brush out and just clear out that section. Nope, that's actually a bright spot. Let's keep that. All right, let's work our way up. This log here, I'd like to not have be part of this thing, so we're gonna draw down it like that. I'll come back and adjust this as needed once I kind of get it together. There we go. All right, that's looking pretty decent. Zoom in over here. All right, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to drop the density down here. Because this is technically water, but I also want to clean up a little bit of it, just like that. Yeah, let's stick with that. Okay. And then I want to add brush. And I want to get this section up here. Turn the density back up. I'm just going to grab this area up in here. Just so it's all, so we got all the water there. Nice. Cool. All right. Now we're going to turn up the highlights. I'm going to turn up the shadows. I'm going to keep the shadows either down, yeah, a little bit down. But I want this to be a focal point. I want this to look really good. Like the sky and the water are definitely the brightest parts, but the water is the focus point of this photo. There's one of the relation between the mountain and the water, I think, is kind of where it is. And having that bridge there is really nice. I may try to do that select that as an object. Turn up the clarity. Nah, turn down the clarity. Honestly, might be the way to go. Texture we've already played with. Let's leave that alone. Dehaze it a bit and go brighter. I don't know if I need to. I don't want to lose the detailing. Just turn the whites up a little more. Nope, that's overexposing. Keep it where it is. Let's see. We already played with shadows. Leave the shadows alone. I'm gonna be happy with that and say that looks pretty good. There was one thing I was going to adjust up here. What was it? Still going to play with color. The bridge. Let me see if I can do this. Let me try one more thing. Object select. Let's see how well Lightroom's new, upgraded masking is. I want to find out. this. I've got an idea for solving this if it doesn't do what I want it to do. But I'd like to get that bridge, but I really don't want to get the stuff between the slats. Let's see if it does it. No, didn't do it. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to subtract a color range. We're going to zoom in, and we're going to get that. And voila, now we have most of the bridge. That's a bit much. Let's go into there. Okay, cool. Come up to our top of our color range and adjust the layout. Lightroom, stop taking away my controls. Something like that. Let's get that color range again. Let's be subtracting that, y'all. What on earth just happened? There we go. Okay. I think that looks better. Cool. All right, so now I'm going to add with a brush. I think it's going to be kind of the pièce de résistance for tonight. I think it's going to be the final photo. Just sort of having fun really diving into this one. I'm really proud of how all the photos tonight are looking, but I think this is the one that the one I'm playing with the most. So we're gonna finish off with this one, and then next time on stream I'm either gonna do some more West Virginia stuff or a little bit of Great Sand Dunes, because I've been really missing the Great Sand Dunes photos. I might do an easy one of those right to finish, because I am definitely, that's where my brain is going right now. All right, turn the shadows up. Really, clarity's not doing a whole bunch here. You know, it might make sense just to let this be dark. Yeah, I think just like that. I think just brightening it up a little bit. Yeah, turn the clarity up a good bit. I've already turned up the texture. We'll leave that alone. Yeah, there we go. Just gives it a little bit of extra something so that we notice it a little bit more. Just a bit. There we go. Cool. All right, one more thing. It's the black and white version. That bridge is going to bother me. I'm looking at it and I'm going like, I don't know if I like it that way. Such a small detail, but it is kind of weighing on me. Pushing this a little bit toward blue, I think, is a good idea. And desaturating it a little bit. Yeah, I like that. I think that looks good. All right, let's come down to our color sliders. The one thing I wanted to do was take my yellow slider and push it a little bit more green. Or go a little bit more orange. You can also go that direction, which honestly doesn't look too bad. Honestly, the orange looks pretty good. I like that. Yeah. Nothing need to play with the saturation too much. I might bring the yellows down just a bit. Bring the blues up is kind of nice. Aqua. Hey, Aqua's actually got a little bit of an effect on the water there. I have to come back and play with that some more. But right now we're going to take it all the way down because I don't want it for this one. Ah, what an amazing day to be alive. What a stupid thing to say. Why am I saying these dumb things? Because it's 3:30. That's why. And because you can't stop me, I guess. I guess that's why. Yeah, because you can't stop me. I'm going with that. No one can stop me. All right. Turn that up actually looks really good because it keeps the... It still lets the river be the thing. Alright, let me do one more thing. Let me come back up to our river here. And turn the saturation down. There we go. Yeah, that's looking pretty good to me. I'm gonna try the erase tool, see if I can get rid of this little bush in the foreground here, but that's probably a fool's errand. Well, let's find out. The remove tool has always been kind of janky when it comes to removing things on the side of a photo. Let's see if it ends up working. Question mark. Ah. No, that looks kind of trash. Looks a lot trash. I'll give it 2 more chances. See if it does anything interesting. Let's see. I'll give it 1 more chance if the stream goes to 4 a.m. Nope. Okay, forget that. Delete it. I'll live with the bush being there. Okay, that looks great. 3 stars to that one. And as legend tells, I'm not going to start my timer until I get a duplicate ready to go. We have a duplicate. We are ready to go. 5 minutes to get a black and white version that looks all the way decent. All right. Back up to, that's our sky and everything. Cool. Let's come up here, come down here. Let's dehaze this a bit. Give it some darkness. Darkness is good. Darkness like that. That looks powerful. All right, let's get our landscape. Brighten those details up. Actually, not that much. A little bit. Let's get our river. That needs to be brighter in general. Since we dehazed everything else, we're gonna brighten the river up. Just without losing all the detail. A little more. A little less. Right there. That looks good. Cool. All right. Let's take a look at this one. It's 1 minute in. Great. Turn the texture down and everything else. Does that make it better? Does that make it better or worse? Doesn't make a difference. Leave it alone. I turn the texture all up on everything already. I already did, so that's not gonna make a difference at all. It's looking pretty good. Let's come down to colors here. You can turn the yellows down. If we turn the oranges up, yeah, turn the oranges up gives a little more ghosting of a look to the water, I think. Yeah, now keep the oranges up. Reds, not doing a whole lot. A little bit of the mountaintop. Leave it alone. Greens, can brighten them up, can bring them down. I like that. I think that looks better. Blues. Let's bring them. It's mostly just working with the sky. Let's leave that alone. Aquas, baby. Barely doing a thing, but we're gonna brighten it up because I like having them there. Purples, a little bit in the sky. Which we're gonna darken. Magentas, it's probably the same deal. A little bit in the sky, a little bit on the mountaintop, a little bit on the mountaintop. Let's darken that edge. Actually, no, let's leave that as is. Yeah, brightening it up actually gives me the detailing. And then reds, again, mountaintop, brighten that up. Cool. Yeah, that's a pretty good black and white photo there. Let's come back up to here. Let's go to the one that's this. Let's turn the contrast up a bit. I think the landscape can be a little bit darker, and a little bit less detailed. Just a touch. Kind of find that balance where you have the landscape there, but the first thing you see is the water. And I think we're there. Only overexposed in a couple of small spots, which makes me happy. Let's turn the whites down on the landscape just a bit. Yeah, I like that. It also gives the sky a little bit of a Yeah, it gives the sky a little bit of something to do behind those trees. Let's bring the highlights up a little bit. I don't need it to be this bright. You don't even need it to be that dark. Got a minute and 20 seconds left, which is good. Like that. I'm going to come back to our water mask here and bring the highlights down so that we don't lose the detailing without... Yeah, I went from 0 to negative 100, so... Or from negative 100 to 0 on the other one, so I go from 100 to 0 here. I should get the same effect on the water. Great. That looks awesome. Yeah, I like that. It feels moody and chaotic. Let's go back to our main one. I'm going to push the dehaze just a couple of notches. Nope, I'm going to leave it alone and pull the blacks down maybe a little bit. We've got 36 seconds left. And doing the timing on this is a cool idea. Let's do that. Turn the clarity all the way up. We get something that looks like a Frank Miller panel. Tiny bit of it's not a bad idea though. "13 seconds, baby. One more little change before I run out of time. This one. Turn the whites down. There we go. Right there. Boom. That's time. Awesome. I like that. I like that one a lot. That one's actually coming out really well. Okay. Now we're gonna go back to the library because I don't think I picked any sand dunes ones for this little collection. So let's go to my collection here. That's Asbury. There's Colorado sand dunes. All right, let's pick a sand dunes one that we haven't touched yet. Bunch that I put stars on. Oh, this one's drawing my eye. Let's take a look at this one. I know I definitely want to do it with people in it. Let's do this one. This one's been on my mind for a very long time. Because you got the people right up there, right along the edge. That feels like a good photo. Okay. Color. Looks good. Black and white looks better. We're going to start with that. Adding the clarity does give us a lot of nice texture in the sand dunes. But this photo is a little bit more about the contrast. Take the clarity down. You know what? It's going to be... Okay, let's do this. Here we go, crew. Let's mask some stuff. First question. Do I want to crop this in? Yes. I want to crop it in here. Yes, I do. Put that back. This is almost a 4x5. Let's check this. Almost exactly. Cool. 4x5 it is. Done. Look at that. That's looking good. Shift it over just the smallest of smidges. Just like that. Cool. Close. Nice. Alright, so now we're going to mask. We're going to mask this in, as usual, kind of 3 different ways. If I tell it to select, no, it's not finding people. Okay. We have to do this like this. We zoom in and we grab some objects. Object select. Way too big there. Alright. First person. We're going to get all the people as separate objects. Add objects. Let's working on it. All right, I'm going to come down here. And again, adding objects. Caught this person diving into their backpack. That's part of the fun. Hiking at Great Sand Dunes, by the way, it looks like I've only did a very little bit, but definitely was a fun experience. Definitely something I would go back and do. Hiking at sand dunes, because it's like, because so much of the hiking is just on sand because all of it is on sand. The challenge is not so much. Now we're going to subtract some objects and clear out some of these little spaces here before I try to go with a brush. The challenge is not so much, it's not so much the difficulty of hiking on the sand, but it's the difficulty. You got to pace yourself. Like, hiking on sand is no harder than regular hiking. As I couldn't find anything. That's all good. Let's subtract with a brush. Yeah, hiking on sand isn't necessarily any harder than hiking on, hiking on sand is harder than hiking, on flat terrain or on more solid terrain by the same factor that walking on sand is harder than walking on solid terrain. It's not, hiking isn't exponentially harder. It's kind of harder by the same factor. So to do a hike at sand dunes, you basically just have to be able to pace yourself, and the real question is it's less of a question of speed and more of a question of slower endurance, because it's not super strenuous. The hike, that's the thing. You're not doing switchbacks. You're not doing you're just climbing up these sand dunes. The thing that makes it harder is cool. So we got our people, and now we're going to do a duplicate and invert. So we got that, and then we're going to subtract the sky. So it's not so much that it's harder. The hardest thing is not so much the terrain at that point. The hardest thing is having the endurance to pace yourself and take your time. Awesome. And then new mask, just the sky. Cool. And that should have subtracted. Look at that. Pretty much perfect. Is having the endurance to stay out under the sun and be hiking on sand that is upwards of 120 degrees long enough to do a hike. That's the cool thing about sand dunes. So it's about sunscreen, it's about water, it's about shade, it's about just pacing yourself and not trying to sprint up a dune. But I do recommend sprinting down the dunes. Sprinting down the dunes is insanely cool. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take our group of people and we are going to basically turn them into silhouettes. We'll start with that. Now we're gonna take our sand dunes and we're going to turn the clarity down so we can get that nice soft edge. Leave the texture kind of where it is. I could dehaze it, and if we remember from the last time we dehazed these things, if I go off of black and white, you didn't get a whole lot of color on that one. Yeah, we're going to the dehaze where it is. I like it being brighter. I like the bright softness of the sand dunes. It's a very nice little part of the place, and it makes me happy to highlight it, because it's, for as much as it's solid it's gritty and rough to walk on, it also has this beautiful flowiness to it. It's waves of sand, and so a little bit of that. All right, let's come back to our people. With them, we're going to turn the texture up. We're going to turn the clarity up, so that they are really well defined. Turn the dehaze up. We're going to turn them all into just silhouettes, which honestly doesn't look too bad. Is it not too bad? Something like that. Yeah, let's go with that. Cool. All right. Yeah, that looks good. And now I want to come up to the sky, because I didn't want to take out the clarity and the texture of the sky, because I really like how the sky looks. And also turning the texture up in the sky, highlights the difference between the dunes and the sky and the clouds. Also, the cloud here is just so texturous and looks really nice. Let's see. The question now is how much. I added a good bit of noise to that. Let's do this. Let me try subtracting a color range and see if I can just get that cloud. Ha! Pretty good. Okay, cool. We're going to do that, and we're going to do a... Let's see. I do a duplicate and invert. We're going to get the ground, and we're going to get everything else. We're going to switch this. We're going to invert that, so we're getting that. And then we're going to invert that. Is that what I want to do? No, I'm doing this wrong. Invert that. Convert to subtract. No, I'm doing this incorrectly. Let's go back up here. Let's go color range. And then end of the night. I'm trying to figure out how I want to do this. Invert that. There it is. That's what I was trying to do. So now I've got one that's the cloud and one that's the sky. And because the sky doesn't have a whole lot going on, I can just bring the shadows down a little bit. Also, if I push them up, I can get them to totally match the sand dunes, and that would be freaking cool. Clarity down. Actually, texture down. Clarity can probably stay where it is. Yeah, okay, cool. We're getting there. Let's do more. Let's turn the highlights up a bit. Okay, there's edges here that I need to get rid of. All right. Subtract brush. Let me see the overlay. We're just going to subtract this from the edge here. Do the same thing up here. Get rid of that, get rid of that. There we go. And now we're going to duplicate that brush. We're going to drag it down to here. And we're going to convert to add. So we're covering up what we were just doing. Now we will subtract the different brush, and we will get rid of what's down here. Nice and smoothly. There we go. Same deal here. This one I can actually do a click and do that. There we go. Just a little bit more, a little bit more. There it is. Cool. That works. All right. So now let's turn the overlays off so we can take a look at how this is coming along. Back to our sky that's not clouds. Turn up the noise reduction. Soften those edges. It's almost at the right brightness. Let's work on that a little bit more. Duplicate and invert, and then invert that again. By the way, the reason, in case you're wondering, like there's a duplicate feature, and there's duplicate and invert. And I could, if I want, a lot of times I want just the exact same mask. I just want to do something different with it, or make a slight adjustment to it, like I'm doing here. And you would think I could just duplicate it. The reason I don't some of the time is when you duplicate a mask and just duplicate it, you duplicate all of the settings you've used. When you duplicate and invert, it inverts it and also resets all the settings. So if I want to reset everything, but if I want the same mask, but I want to reset everything, kind of start from a blank canvas, it makes sense to duplicate and invert, and then invert again so that it resets all my sliders. That's why I do it that way. Intersect with a linear gradient. There we go. What I'm doing here is, because it's a little bit darker over here, I'm going to bring the highlights down to get that to match closer to the landscape over here. Something like that. Something almost like that. We're so close, y'all. It's right there. Leave that alone. There we go. Cool. So yeah, that allows me to match how that's looking going across. That looks so cool. I'm actually really, really happy with this. I say that like I'm surprised. I'm very, very happy with how this looks. Let's do a little bit more. Let's go back to our people mask. Bring their exposure down a bit. Nope, down. I want them closer to silhouettes. There we go. Let's come back to our landscape. And that just worked so hard to get the sky to match. We're going to turn the highlights up and adjust this a bit to give it that a little more of that sand dune detail to it. Cool. That looks pretty good. Come back to the sky that I've now messed with a bit. Actually, not much. I'm bring the whites up just a couple of notches, and I think we're good. Which we are. Let's come back to our cloud. We didn't do a ton with the cloud. Let's do a little more with it. Make that the subject here. Turn the highlight. That's what this photo was missing. Turn those highlights up. Make this cloud the story of the photo. Dehazing, it's not the right move. Honestly, going backwards with the dehaze might be closer to the right move. Nah, leave it as is. Let's get that, keep that texture in there. That feels like the photo I took, and that feels like the photo I imagined when I saw this composition. That looks pretty cool, I think. Let me see what it looks like in color, out of curiosity. Looks gorgeous in color. Looks really pretty. I think I like it better in black and white, though. I think black and white has a better contrast. Let's adjust our color sliders to see if there's anything that we really want to do anything with. Not a whole lot to do with the... Like, we can play with the sand to varying degrees. Come back here. We can play with aqua. Does nothing. We always knew. We can play with blue if we want to adjust the sky a bit. Go down to something dark like that. Which also looks cool in its own way. It really does. Actually, it really does. Damn, I love how this works. I'm gonna go with a darker thing. After all the effort I just spent trying to get this to match, I'm gonna go with a darker sky and give it a little more of a... Let's see. Probably do 2 versions, honestly. Cause I'm really liking how that's looking. Green's not gonna do much. Let's see. Oh, should I go back and try again with the removal tool now that we hit 4 a.m.? That's part of the fun. We've been on here almost 2 hours. That's pretty sweet. All right. I like that. I like that a lot. Let's create a virtual copy. Let's go ahead and give this... this is going to be one tiny change, I think. Let's go ahead and give this one 3 stars, because I think it looks great. Let's come to our virtual copy. That's not the virtual copy. Let's get that stack back opened here. There we go. Go back to here. This is the other one. Let it load. Give it a second. There we go. Put the blues back so we get that brighter highlight there. I'm going to do one more thing because I think we need something. I'm going to grab this mask. I'm going to duplicate and invert it. Same deal. And we're going to invert that so it's back to having just the landscape. In a second. It's taking its time now. Alright, let's see. We got that, and then we're going to grab the sky here. I'm going to click into here. Let's see. You know, I might not need to do this. I don't think I need to do this. I think I can delete that and just stick with this one. Just bring the clarity down, bring the texture down a little bit more. Actually, you know what? I take it back. I need to do it this way. All right. We're going to undo deleting that mask. We are going to... Where's the overlay? That includes the sky. I don't want to include the sky. Oh, I'm going to here. That's what I want to do. All right. This one has been reset, so it does nothing. Let's do this. We're going to add... Select sky. So we're going to get basically everything except the people. There we go. And now we're going to subtract. Let's see. I'm going to try subtracting an object, see if I can get rid of the cloud that way. What I want to get is the sky and the dunes and nothing else. So we're going to subtract all of this. See if I can get it to get rid of all that for me. Look at that. Absolutely perfect. Cool. So now I can bring the clarity down even more and get that really nice shine to it. That looks cool. That looks really cool. I love the glow it gives it. That feels like what it's like to be there. And just sort of that gives you a little bit of that haze, a little bit of that. Yeah. A+. I'm really happy with how that looks. What's it look like in color? Looks pretty. I think black and white really is really where it comes in. One more change. Back to these people. Bring the shadows down. I want them to be a little bit darker. Put that back. I'm getting the white sounds is a better option. Cool. All right. Yeah, so that's that one. 3 stars on that. And yeah, that still looks really good in a different way. All right. So, sweet. Let's come back to just me and we will wrap this up. So, cool. Thank you so much for joining me for a couple of hours tonight. It was a lot of fun going through these. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling better and better about them as we go through, and it's fun to get to explore them. And kind of, I felt like tonight we really captured what it felt like to be at each of these places, and that makes me feel like I'm doing my job as a photographer. So, if you enjoyed the process, if you enjoyed seeing these pieces get created and get processed, if you would like to support my work and would like to bring a print of one of these into your home, I've got a Go Imagine store with a QR code right now that you can scan. If you're curious about, there's a kind of a selection of pieces there. Any piece that's on Go Imagine is basically available as a unique piece. If you buy a piece off Go Imagine, it will not be back up there. It's a single quantity of each of those. If you would like one of the prints that's not on there, you are more than welcome to reach out to me via my website, so erichackler.com/photography, or get in touch with me here on YouTube, post a comment, find me on any of my social medias and hit me up there, and we can figure out a way to get a print for you, get a print printed and framed and shipped off to you so you can bring it into your home and take this little bit of this wonderful Colorado nature with you. Let's come back to me. As always, postcards are available on there as well. If you would like postcards of some of my favorite spots in the U.S. That you can then ship around the country, and also they have a little QR code on them where you can, whoever receives them can scan the QR code and add which postcard they got to a map, and we can see where everyone went. So there's that. That's cool. And if you like the necklace that I'm wearing or the shackle bracelet that I've got here, that's also available on the website. If you want to support my work but don't have the wall space or don't have anyone you need to send postcards to. So that's how you can support me, but mostly thank you for being on with me tonight. Thank you for letting me share this work and these pieces with you. I'm excited to come back and do more. Hopefully we'll do another one of these streams either tomorrow or Friday. Whether we're in Colorado or we're in West Virginia or we go to Alaska, it'll be one of the. So I got a lot of photos from a lot of my favorite places, and I'm really excited to keep sharing them. So, with that said, thank you for joining. Thank you for sharing your time with me. I yield your attention back to you to do with what you will, but please take your intentions out into the world and use them to connect with people, connect with nature, the more connected we are to our world and to the people and the beings that populate it, the more we will care and the harder it will be for those who wish to destroy us and destroy our planet for profit to achieve that goal. So everything with that all said, be safe, be kind, be well, and don't stop. See you next time.